Guys, one more round of applause, please.
What a beautiful setup. The venue's gorgeous, and so yeah, thanks for having me, and it's lovely to meet you all. And it's freezing here
It is freezing. It
in the city. I mean, in Seattle. Oh my goodness.
was actually snowing earlier today.
I'm Canadian. I thought I could handle it, but apparently not. I
Okay.
think you need to turn the high end up on this a little bit. It's a bit muddy. Can you hear me okay? Okay, okay.
Check 1, 2. Rishi? Can you figure out the.
Yeah, if you could just give me some more.
Okay, guys. Wow.
Oh
this
yeah, that
was-
fixed it. Thanks a lot, man. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's great. It happens.
Okay, is this better? Yeah? Okay, cool. Should I jump into the questions, or guys, do you want to do one first? I'll start. Okay, take it fine. Raghav. Can I call you Raghav? Is that okay? Would you rather have Raghav
Yeah,
G?
it's my name. Just my mom used to call me Manhus and Kambach, and so I didn't realize my name was Raghav till I was 15.
Okay, so my first question is, if one goes through your Instagram, we see, guys, can we have some silence in the back, please? Guys? Guys, can we have silence in the back, please? Thank you. When one goes through your Instagram channel, we obviously see a lot of your songs, but we also see a lot of songs from 60s, 70s, 80s. Who are your top 3 favorite singers?
You mean like Bollywood singers of all time?
Sure.
Muhammad Rafi number 1.
Okay.
I should have done it the other way for suspense, right? I guess Kishore Kumar number 2, and then S.D. Burman number 3.
Okay. It's a good choice. Guys, so we asked the audience earlier before you were here if they knew Muhammad Rafi. I think one person raised their hand. Yeah,
They all know Muhammad Rafi, don't you?
yeah, we taught them. We sang Gulabi Aankhein with them. Okay, cool. If you had to put yourself in one era of songs where you were singing in those times, which one would those be?
I think when the Opinayer kind of, like the songs that I originally sampled on my first album,
Yeah.
Storyteller, like from that era going into Artie Berman, that would have been the perfect time because my voice suits those songs, and it was also after the invention of antibiotics, so it feels like it would be medically a sound place to be in the world as well. So that would be the perfect era right there. I think the 650s going into the
60s.
I mean, I've had a 20-year career now, so let's say 1951 to 1971 would be great.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. When you put your songs together, how do you pick a song? Like when you, because like some of your songs have a sample from one of the oldest songs, at least the ones that have gotten really, really a lot of love. How do you pick those?
So I wish I could answer that with a blanket answer, but the truth is every process is different. I mean, with Teri Bato and Angel Eyes, obviously, it was driven by the rhythm, the Murder She Wrote rhythm, which is an old reggae rhythm from the song Murder She Wrote. And then with some of the other stuff, the stuff that I do with Mushtaq, which would be Can't Get Enough, Let's Work It Out, and then Desperado and Bad, 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 and all those songs, he's so great. He's so great at understanding who I am. And those songs, when he comes up with chords or rhythms that for me to write to, they're an embodiment of how him and I grew up. He grew up in England, Bangladeshi guy grew up in England, and I grew up Indian guy in Canada. And so we both kind of have that amalgamation of sounds like so many people here, I imagine, of what we grew up with. It was like Michael Jackson, Harry Belafonte, Stevie Wonder, Muhammad Rafi, all that stuff in one thing. So that process is very different and a lot longer, you know. So it really depends, but to answer that more specifically, for me, melody always comes before lyric, and then I kind of syncopate the melody into lyrics, if I'm writing them or only on a couple of occasions other folks have written them, and then kind of giving them something syncopated to write to.
How did your paths cross with Mushtaq?
Oh, that's a great story. No one's ever asked me that. So I had a record called So Confused, which was a big hit in the UK in 2004. And that almost didn't happen. Originally, I'd done a cover version, which was really big in 2003, of what at the time was an obscure soca record called Turn Me On. But we couldn't get the sample cleared that was in Turn Me On, and the original singer is a guy named Kevin Little,
Yep.
and then it rightfully became a big hit for him, but I thought my career was over, because really we did kind of the groundwork in the UK with that record. Then, right when I was about to give up on the dream, I wrote So Confused. It was a big hit. The producer I did that with is a guy named Wesley Tuplay. His manager, Steve, also managed Mushtaq, and it's like whenever you go to a party, they just put the two brown people together, right? So
You
it's the
guys should
same
be
thing.
friends.
He's like, Mush should meet Raghav. I'm like, oh my gosh, And it's just been like Quincy and Michael since then. Um, it's been great. And then there were years in between where we didn't make a lot of music together, and then when stuff started trending during COVID again,
Yeah.
we were like, we should
Get it back
we
again.
should hit him up one more time, and then that was Desperado. Yeah.
Wait, is So Confused came before Storyteller? Because I saw it, it's also still part of the Storyteller album too, right?
Okay, so the original So Confused came before Storyteller. There's a cover version of So Confused because we couldn't do a deal for the original master, and that's on Storyteller as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, So Confused was before Storyteller. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Interesting. I always thought So Confused was such a beautiful gem. And I hadn't heard the cover part of it just as the part of the album. And I found it beautiful. I'm just surprised that it didn't pick up as much around the world as what it should have.
Well, there's a reason for that. It's not like there were TikTok reels or Instagram reels back then where things could go global like that. I was signed to a major label. I was signed to V2. I guess it's still independent.
Yeah.
V2 is Richard Branson's record label. After he sold Virgin, he cheekily started a label called V2, and I was signed to that. But there was no shortage of funds, for Richard Branson. So it was promoted like a major, like I was a major label artist, and
Yeah.
the belief they had in that project was great. But it was restricted to the UK. Then what happens is you do license deals to try and make some money back for Richard. You try and license it all over the place, and obviously the natural location where my album got licensed was India. And then at that time they would have called it, I can't remember, there was a name for like all the countries, so India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and then they did independent licenses. But no one in Canada or the USA ever picked the album up. Ever picked it up. It was really close. I flew to New York and we shook hands with the record label because they were going to put Angel Eyes in one of the Shrek films.
What?
Yeah, no, fucking tell me about it.
Okay, that's something you know on the internet.
And we were like that close to that happening. That would have been probably about 2005. And then we would have had an American run off the back of that. But it never happened for me. But in a way, it's like it worked out okay. My name is Raghav, like it wasn't Ricky Ray. It's not culturally ambiguous. And that is something that in America, the truth is, in America, it felt like you had to sort of be more culturally ambiguous. And I was flying the flag with Indian samples on it and all that kind of stuff. So it's like it might have been a tougher grind for me here, and now the way that things have worked out, I still have an international career
Yeah.
without that. But yeah, it would have been nice to have that moment then.
Are there any opportunities that came so close but didn't make it, like Angel Eyes making it to Shrek?
Oh yeah, lots. I wrote a song called Love with a guy named Jim Beans.
Okay.
And it's on one of my albums that it didn't do very well. But it's a beautiful song. It's on the album of mine called The Phoenix. And Jim had originally written that with a co-writer, and then I came in and just did a little bit on it. So I actually, not to misspeak, I only did a portion of the record. But that was supposed to be a Michael Jackson record in 2008 or 9 or whatever. And I believe he'd even optioned it, but then, of course, he tragically passed away. So that came pretty close. So many different things. I worked on a project with A.R. Rahman and Stephen Schwartz, Stephen Schwartz wrote Wicked, which is now having another incarnation in film. And so they had been commissioned to write a project for DreamWorks called Monkeys of Mumbai. And it was sort of loosely based on the Ramayana and Hanuman. It was like, I don't know how to, this is going to sound terrible, but it's like they did Kung Fu Panda and they're like, we got to do something Indian. And then AR brought me in to kind of work on that a little bit to voice the main character. And we worked on that and just come up with ideas for that. We worked on that for about a year, and then it just hit the cutting room floor, and nothing ever happened with it. So I could spend days telling you about things that almost happened. Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like entertainment industry is like that. There's so many projects that get shelved or don't make it to the public.
Yeah, it's frustrating. That's why it's so great being an independent artist, because the only person I have to blame is me now, and like, so it don't work out. So that's.
So you have a really, really beautiful voice. Have you? So, okay, let me start with this. I fell in love with your voice. Of course, like I knew Angel Eyes and stuff, and I was following your journey. But I heard this obscure version of "Ek Din Up" in your voice on a guitar and tabla, and I still have it. I shared with the team that if fingers crossed, Raghav decides to do that with us tonight. Just laying a hint, but have you considered doing songs in those direction where like it's less processed and like um, just directly in your pure voice?
You know, I've yes, but I've always done it. Like if you look at Storyteller,
Yeah,
people remember the singles, but if you go home and listen to the whole album, which I'd appreciate. I get 16 cents if you do that. And it's like an inch deep and a mile wide. There's jazz records on there. There's
one,
acoustic
yes.
records.
Yep.
Same thing with the next album, Identity. One of my favorite songs I've ever recorded that I didn't write at all is a song called Sufi that I did in 2017, which is exactly what you're talking about. But the truth is that for whatever reason, while people critically appreciate it, it just doesn't help me buy groceries.
Yeah, yeah.
Like people just like, for whatever reason, it's like they just associate me with club bangers and that kind of thing. So I still do it, but I do it so that when I'm dead, people can say that like he sang like that.
His
But-
voice was really great.
Yeah, but nothing I've ever done in that realm has, and I don't think it's because it's just because they're not in films. You know, like there's such a small lane. If you're going to be an independent pop guy like I am, then I have this sort of sound that I'm known for in a lane, and you can kind of experiment within that. And it's still a pretty big lane because it's unique to me.
Yeah.
But the other stuff in the middle that helps me really kind of show that part that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I think will do it is what I've really been trying to do is put together something called Storyteller Unplugged, where I do that whole album, all those
Yes.
songs entirely unplugged. So we'll try and do something like that, and hopefully bring it to Seattle. That'd be
We
great.
love that. We love that. I think like even the song "Ek Din Up," when I was trying to find it, I don't think I found it anywhere. Even on YouTube, there's one obscure version of you singing it on stage in Dubai in like I think 2003 or something, and that's the only version I could find of it.
Yeah.
I had an MP3 version because I downloaded it from songs.pk, but but
Fairly sure that's a federal crime. But okay.
but like we would love to hear like more of those, especially if Storyteller Unplugged comes in. We would love that.
Well, you know, like I'm 40 years old, so it's like you're kind of I'm kind of feel like now I want to melt into that a little bit, where my records still are something that like I couldn't have done this when I was 25.
Yeah.
So I would like to melt into that. I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm not going to plan it because everything in my career has happened so naturally,
Yeah.
Including my failures. So it'll just kind of be what it is. It'll happen, but
Okay.
I won't stop singing. You know.
One question before I open it back to the audience, guys. Get ready. If you had to, so I kind of feel like you've carved a niche, right? When you hear like a Raghav song, it comes off as a Raghav song. You know this is your style, right? A signature style. If you had to name this genre, what would you name it without including your name in it?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that. I'd probably have to ruminate on that for a bit. But I mean, it's definitely NRI pop. You know, like to a degree.
I like that.
Because
Guys, round of applause for that for sure.
because the Indians that are in India that try and do pop, it's just different.
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's just not as cool as us, you know? I'm kidding. So it's just different. It's like NRI pop. There you go.
I like that. I love that. Guys, we should form a playlist on NRI Popcorn on Spotify, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Anybody else has any questions? Yeah, okay. Manohar?
Hi Raghav, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good.
Thanks.
I mean, nice to see you here after
Thank
like
you.
20 years. I think you have made all of our childhoods like really great. So
How sweet.
Yeah.
Please don't make me feel
yeah.
that old though. Someone take the mic away from him
Sorry.
right now. All right, go ahead.
No, like at that time, nobody would have thought like you could like mix old classics with like hip hop genre. So I think you probably was the first one to do it. So thank you for doing that. And I think my question is, I just want to understand your writing process. And there's one song called "Let's Work It Out." I just want to know like the story behind it, and did you work it out, Jirax, or what that was?
Yeah, I should have been like, let's never speak again is what I
Yes.
should have called the song. I hated writing Let's Work It Out. It was one of my least favorite records to write. I'll tell you why. Because Can't Get Enough had come out. Do you guys know Can't Get Enough? It has Kabhi Yaar, Kabhi Paar. And it was like, it had an old sample from Opi Nair, and it was just that kind of doom, ti-ti, doom, ti-ti. And it was actually a song I'd written 3 years previous, because I'd met a Gujarati girl at a club in London, and she had taken my number, and then she didn't text me for like a week. I know. It must have not had a good phone tariff or something. Yeah. And she's like, "Mana phone na karo chai." And actually, no, she just lost her phone, and then so in that week I was just destroyed, And so I wrote this song about her over just a little moog kind of thing that I'd put together. And then I had a demo of it, and then we actually dated for 2 years. Lovely girl. And then I just when I was hearing the original demo that I'd done over keys, I kept hearing Kabhi Yaar, Kabhi Paar, and I put that in a very rudimentary way with a producer from Norway. And then when I played it to Mushtaq, he's like, "No, leave that with me," and he gave me that record, and it became a big hit. So then it came time for the next single, and at that time with Mush, I'd already written a song called "Ain't Nobody" and a song called "Bad Bad Bad," and we'd started working on "Let's Work It Out" a little bit. And the label was like, this was my first experience with my heart being crushed by the industry. They were like, we need to follow the same formula as the first single. That's Can't Get Enough. It needs to have an old Indian sample, and it needs to have a driving club rhythm. And it was just so scientific that I remember thinking, oh, this is going to sound like I tried to copy Can't Get Enough, and people are going to hate me for the rest of my life. And it was like, such a painful thing, because I had advocated really hard that Bad 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 should be the next single. And all this while, the label thought Angel Eyes was too cheesy to be on the album or be released, So, and I was advocating for Angel Eyes as well, but I knew that it would have its day because Teri Baaton had been written before that. So as much as I wrote Let's Work It Out, I always felt it was not as good as Can't Get Enough. And as I was writing it, I thought it was an album cut as opposed to a single. So it's funny that when it started trending again online, I heard it with fresh ears, and I'm like, oh, this is very good. But at the time, because I was like, you kind of internally compete with other things you're doing, you can't see it based on merit. So Let's Work It Out was a painful process for me because I just thought, oh, it's the same kind of sample, same kind of sound, and there's so much more to give. And the main reason for that is at the beginning of my career, I thought, what if I only have one song in my life, or 2 songs in my life, or 3 songs in my life that people hear? Will they only hear 2 songs that sound so similar? And the example that was given to me was that Elvis Presley's first few songs all sound entirely the same. So everyone's like, you have to establish a foundation of your sound, and then you can break away from it. And to a degree, that's true, but it was, as a 22 or 23-year-old, it was soul-crushing to hear, because that's not what you wanted to do. So yeah, thanks for bringing up a bad memory. Thanks a lot.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much.
Manohar is actually, he comes to Mehfil a lot, and he's a rapper. and he writes a lot of his songs himself. So that's why he wanted to know your writing process there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shreya.
Hi Raghav, Shreya. I'm
Hello.
performing with my troupe tonight on your latest song, Tumka. So I have a compliment and a question. So compliment is that now I know the genre, it's NRI pop, but it literally brings us back to that 90s time when we were all
Okay, I have to stop you right there. In 1997, I was in the 90s. I was going through puberty, and everybody online is like, "Oh, the 90s are so great." Fucking, my first album didn't come out till 2004. It was nothing 90 about it, and I was a teenager in the 90s. Everybody says that. So your 90s might have been amazing. They had nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
Right.
our 90s.
Yeah, you were
So
watching
we're-
Beverly Hills 90210. Had nothing to do with me.
So we're all 90s, no, not kids anymore. We're all 90s adults. But it really does bring us back to that nostalgia. Even Tumka, the latest one, it has that same soul. So I think it's
Yeah.
so nostalgic. It's beautiful. It's instantly connecting as soon as the beat starts. So it's really nice. Like you said, there is a style that is around what your singing is, but it's still every song is still unique.
Thank you.
So, and also like you I don't know how you managed to stay so humble. I've worked with so many artists, so that's a huge compliment. Like you.
Well, that's easy. I'm not rich. So I just, every time I feel really good about myself, my wife just slips the bank statement under the door. And then I'm like, no, I should remain humble.
And the question is related to that itself. Like, I feel like I've seen so many artists, and I don't know, Vansh, what do you think about that? But they have like a few really popular songs, and they just keep milking it, going for concerts and just, doing all of that. I just feel like that's not the path you've taken. It's always like, it feels like the artist in you is just hungry to create more than milking in some way. I don't know if that's by design or it's just happened like that, but it's really
No,
inspiring.
I'm constantly touring. Like, I'm always working. But I don't pimp it out on social media to a
That's
degree. I think.
probably it. Yeah, we don't
so
see a lot of
I
that.
hate social media. Like, it's a nightmare for me. But at the same time, it's a driving force for income, to be
Right.
quite honest. So it's such a struggle, but, you know, it's just it's become such an increasingly narcissistic space.
Well,
But at the same time, it's a really useful tool to get across who you are. So, I always start out really cynical of it, and then I'm kind of like, oh, there's great things about it. I get to show people my personality. I get to give them a view into my personal life, like to a degree. But, yeah, I think that for me, it's just that I just have this unique lane, because of my background and who I am and my career and the sound of exactly who I am, that the truth is that, and I'm saying this with humility, please, but I'm going to be honest, something about the music that I've been able to create with my co-writers and co-producers, it just lives in people's hearts
yes.
to a degree. And so that is the most important thing to me, because when I go through an airport or I get in an Uber, no matter where I go in the world, yeah, I'm not getting accosted, like I'm not doing stadium tours, but it just
Not yet.
lives, not yet, not yet. Not yet. But it lives in people's hearts, and you know what? Honestly, that's good enough for me. As long as I can just keep doing that to, provide for my family, that would be the dream, really. So it's been 20 years. Hopefully, it'll be 30. Let's see.
Guys, we're almost at the close of time. Yes, we can give a round of applause for that.
Thank you.
We have time. If anybody has one question, we take it. Otherwise, you do. Go ahead, Miss.
Hi Raghav, it's really nice to meet you. My name is Anjali.
Your name is
Anjali.
Anjali.
Yeah. So my question is that one of the most famous songs, "Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Uljha Jiya," it's not just a song anymore. It's also the title of one of the most recent movies, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I wanted to understand the story behind how that happened, and what was your reaction to that?
So, over the years, Teri Baaton, the original Teri Baaton, was never a single. It was just a song that came out that people loved. It's been playing in clubs for 20 years, but we never made a music video. We did something during COVID that's just kind of average, but it was never a single. It was always Angel Eyes. Like if I had died in 2020, it would have said Angel Eyes singer Raghav has died. Now it'll say Teri Baton singer Raghav has died, you know? So that's like, it's just from back then. So over the years, many people had approached me, film houses and record labels, but my experience with the music and film industry in India was that it's a fucking nightmare and nobody is to be trusted. And I always say that the word copyright in India means they have the right to copy your shit, you know? So I was like, I held on to it very tightly. Then during COVID, when again, COVID was obviously a terrible time, but it was an eye-opener for me. Because actually, I'd been touring nonstop for 17 years. I hadn't stopped. Until COVID, I hadn't been in the same city for 10 days in any one city since 2004. And I just saw how people were kind of going back and during lockdown and falling in love with these old songs. And Storyteller was number one. Everyone says, oh, it was number one in 2004. It was also the number one album in 2021 or 22 again, you know, and in India. And so, but it was not that in 1994, okay? So just, and that was all because of TikTok and Instagram. So then I got to kind of learn the power of how those songs trend and what they do. At that time, it was like, oh, there was really an appreciation there, and I got to see how it lived in people's hearts. We got a ton of offers after Teri Baton was number one trending to put it in a film. And then this one company approached us, and they said, we got Shahid Kapoor and Kriti Sanon. And I really mustered up all my artistic integrity and said, how much money you got?
Hell yeah.
And then the cool thing about Teri Baton, sorry, it's a bit of a long story, so you have to bear with me, is that my mom wrote the lyrics to Teri Baton. And yeah. And so she is the most talented person I've ever known, you know. And she's not a songwriter, but she just wrote it one day in 2003 when we were in the house. And so they had to get mom's approval. Now, the other thing is that it was written over the Murder, She Wrote rhythm. If you guys know reggae music, it's, I know this little girl, her name is Maxine, a bitch is like a bunch of murder, she wrote. So every single writer from Murder, She Wrote also, and their publishers, had to approve this. It was a monumental task to get the song cleared. And of course, what happens when you get 8 writers is that that check gets divided, and you know, it's less exciting after you divide the check. But somehow we managed to get it done, and then they said, would you like to sing the song? And I said, well, sure, send it to me and I'll give you my vocal back. But I didn't do the deal contingent on me singing the song because, frankly, I was embarrassed to sing it because I thought, I love the original and I'm going to hate this new version and people are going to make fun of it. Because people always say, oh, and you know, people are so wonderful and kind online, right? So they're just like, oh, you sellout piece of shit, why'd you do this record? And I was like, I don't want to experience that. But I did sing it. And then to weave off a little bit here, when I sang it, the original key is Teri baaton mein aisa ulit. So I recorded the chorus like that, and then the new verse that they gave me, that my mom hates the new verse, by the way. She's like, mere sare lyrics. And then I do another, when I sing songs, I do the exact same song an octave higher. Not to show off, but just because it gives it a little energy. You hear all my songs have an octave higher. So I also did, and I kind of did it poorly and just laid it on there because it's going to live so quietly in the track. And in the end, they ended up using the high vocal as the lead vocal. Fucking Indians, man, can't fucking do anything. And I was like, what have they done? But they'd already signed the paperwork and they weren't going to ask me for anything. And I didn't hear the song until it came out, which was maybe a day or two before I heard it, to be fair. And then you're like panicking because it's like, oh my God, this is not how it's supposed to be. But of course, it ended up working out just fine, and I was wrong about that. It became a big hit. But what really was funny is that then no one had told me. In the deal, in the paperwork, it says that the song is for a movie called Batein. And I thought, no, you're not fucking doing it. You're not doing it. I know what you're doing. And so when we granted them the rights, we actually didn't grant them the rights to name movie after that. But so then when I saw a couple of days later that the song was called Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Uljha Jiya, I thought, my lawyer's going to love this. But to be fair, I'm kidding. We ended up working out a deal pretty quickly, and we moved on from that pretty quick. And I was really nervous. I thought people would say, oh, he's sold out or he's done this. But people ended up loving it, and it brought a nostalgia. Actually, what I thought was going to happen is people are going to say, we hate the new version, and go listen to the old version. And even that happened. There was a bump, but really it wasn't what I thought it would be. Everyone, like, I think it's like 500 million views on YouTube. I wish I owned the new version. I own the old one. And it was a pretty wild ride. But the best thing about it is that when I went to tour it in March of last year, Mom turned 80 last year, and she was kind of treated like a celebrity out there by everybody. They're like, oh, Auntie wrote this song. And so that was the coolest thing about it. And Dad died in 2022, so he wasn't there to see it. But it is quite a journey how that song came back and how it was never even a song in the first place. And that's what I sort of mean by, music, if it lives in people's hearts, it does eventually find a way. And so we live in a world where people are ramming, I don't want to put any artist down because I don't mean it like a put down, but there's a couple of songs that come out and you're scrolling on Instagram and you see the same girl 40 times or the same guy, and you if you're in the industry, you know what that is. That's like, it's being rammed down your throat to love it, and it might be a big hit in the moment, but it has to stand the test of time for it to be something of artistic kind of meaning,
Guys, I know Raghav gave you like a 3-second singing. Raghav, can we push you to do like a 10-second to 20-second?
Yeah, is that it for questions then? That was pretty good.
I think we're running short on time, like it's almost 8, so that's why.
Well, you're all coming to the gig tonight, aren't you?
Yes, they are. Everybody is, yeah. Would you want to do it like 10, 15 seconds of any song that you like? You can also go 60. 15 is just the minimum.
ओ तेरी आँखों में इकरार की बातों में भीगी भीगी रातों में मुझको है खो जाना हो तेरी बातों में ऐसा उलझा जिया बैठे ही बैठे मैंने दिल खो दिया हो.
Thank you so much, Raghav.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the audience for coming out tonight.
Thank you, guys.
He's going to hang out. Do you want to ask it that?
I wish I could. I wish I could tell you more. Like, I don't. No, it's not. It's not like it's a secret. I mean, if someone knows, they could tell me. It's everything. Sure. I think I just have such a catalog of stuff that I want to release, but it's I've done really Hindi-based stuff for the last couple of years. I think what makes me unique is that I sing in English and Hindi. So I'd like to release a couple of more English records, but the truth is that changes on a dime. It's like I go in the studio next week and I make something, then it goes to the front of the line. And luckily, unlike 2004, I don't have anyone telling me how to do it or what to do. So it really just goes on like what kind of moves me. I want to kind of get that out to people because I feel like they'll, at least the core fan base would relate to that, Yeah, thank you, Prashant. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Guys, we'll see you in a couple of hours at a Nectar Lounge. Raghav is performing, and we have Shreya dancing, and we have Prashant performing. So please come there. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, hi everybody. I'm gonna quickly. पैसा वसूल बहुत हुआ है. क्योंकि मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा हुआ इनफैक्ट, लेकिन हमने प्रॉमिस किया था कि आपको फ़ोटोज़ भी लेने का मौका मिलेगा, और जहाँ पे राघव जी बैठे हैं वो जगह बहुत सुंदर है। तो और मैं ये भी चाहता हूँ कि 10 बजे डोर्स ओपन होंगे, तो आई वांट टू गिव यू ऑल द टाइम टू गो ग्रैब अ ड्रिंक और व्हाटएवर यू वांट टू डू. सो आई वुड इनवाइट दैट इफ यू आर in a rush or you have anything, you know, first going on, then you can go ahead first and get photos with him. And then if you're chill to hang out a little bit, like we've got the performance crew, maybe they need to go first. If you are chill to hang out, he's also, I really want to first of all thank you, Raghav. What a great, he's been up since 3 a.m. or something like that yesterday. And we did an insane show in Portland. Portland really showed up for Raghav. I was so happy to do that. And we're officially sold out for the party tonight as well. And so it's truly, I like to call Seattle my work land, not native land, but work land. I've been able to do this as an artist, community organizer because of Seattle. So thank you so much. And to be able to bring you back here after 2 years, for me, I heard Tumke Ka and I was like, oh my God, I genuinely, that's my genuine thing. I heard the song, I could not get it out of my head. It's such an earworm, such an earworm. This morning I was singing it to my daughter, and I was just like, this is what really inspires me, is that you keep going, you keep digging in deeper to your soul. So I really appreciate it. I hope we keep bringing you back here, whether it's at nightclub events or Mehfil or many more. We wish you, based, you know, from Portland and Seattle, we wish you all the success. You stand and you grow, and we are right there with you. So really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.